Do you think that the Fed has gotten the effects of tariffs on the economy wrong?
Thanks, Aleha. It's great to be here, so thanks for having me. Look, yeah, I think that a lot of folks, have got the effects of tariffs wrong. I think there's quite a bit that people miss about tariffs. The number one point that I'd make about tariffs is a general point about economics, which is that when you think about any economic policy, a tariff, a tax, anything else, right, the economists believe that the party that bears the burden or the benefit of that policy is the party that's more inflexible. Because if you're flexible, you can change your behavior to avoid the costs. And so think about it this way. If you were buying a house and, the town that you're looking at raises property taxes, right? You say, okay, maybe I'm going to look at the next house in the next town over. Right? So you can adjust your behavior, you're flexible. Whereas the seller of that house is inflexible, they already own it. So they have to drop their selling price, right? So in this example, economists would say, okay, the seller of the house ends up bearing the increase in the property tax. And you have to think about tariffs the same way. U.S. consumers are flexible. We have options. We can produce stuff at home. We have a variety of countries we can import stuff. We can substitute into home production. Whereas countries that sell to the United States are inflexible. They've only got the United States to sell to. There's no alternative. So they're the ones who will bear the burden of these tariffs, which means that there's going to be very limited pass-through into downside economic risk or into higher prices. So I think that a lot of folks have got that wrong.
But even Trump and his advisors, including your colleagues, Elon Musk, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and others, are signaling a no pain, no gain concept here, that for a little while things could get bumpy in the economy.
Yeah, so there are some risks in the economy, but I think those risks predominantly derive from the transition from an economy which was primarily government-driven to an economy that's primarily private sector-driven. And that might contribute to make things bumpier and less robust in the short run. And just to give you one number that's a great example of that is if you look at the share of jobs created in 2023 and 2024, so the second half of the Biden administration, when COVID is over, and it's really just a result of Biden administration policies, 73% of all jobs created in those 2 years were due to government and government-adjacent sectors. By government-adjacent, I mean sectors like education, sectors like healthcare, social assistance. These are sectors of the economy that derive a very large, or maybe even in some of them the majority of their financing ultimately from the taxpayer through direct transfers or subsidies. So 3/4 of jobs created in the last couple of years came from basically, sort of government expenditures and taxpayer subsidies. So it is a brittle economy as we transition away from that to the private sector.
But the Fed and Fed officials are correct then that there will be at least short-term pain as tariffs kick in.
So I don't think that there's going to be material short-term pain from the tariffs. I think the short-term pain is coming from the reorientation of the economy from the government to the private sector.